Oblivion had the best Thieves guild of the Elder Scrolls games so far. Before I first played Skyrim, I had just finished Oblivion, so naturally I was going to compare the 4th game's Thieves guild with the 5th's. Ultimately, I was disappointed. Not that Skyrim's guild is awful, it's just mediocre. Let me explain why I love Oblivion's Thieves Guild. Firstly, it was so original. The concept of the Grey Cowl of Nocturnal is fantastic. It's a cowl that grants you amazing sneaking abilities, but the owner of the cowl is left anonymous. They are disallowed from having a persona other than that of the Grey Fox. Without the mask, no one knows who they are or remembers them. This brings me to my second point. In general, Oblivion's Thieves Guild questline was compelling because it was genuinely mysterious. I didn't know until almost the very end what the Grey Fox's purpose was. The preceding quests to the final one, where you have to find the boots of Springhill Jack, infiltrate the Ancestor Moth's headquarters, and find the Arrow of Extrication, are some of the best because they're so fanciful. Thirdly, there was the feeling that the Thieves Guild was something more than just a band of brigands. Although full of thieves, there was a real sense that, like Robin Hood, the organisation was helping those who were truly destitute. The paupers throughout the game were all allied with the Grey Fox, and none of the quests, as far as I can remember, involved stealing from common people, unless they deserved it. As I said at the beginning, Skyrim's Thieves Guild questline isn't bad, it's just not as good. To begin with, let's compare the Grey Cowl of Nocturnal with the Skeleton Key, the two central mystical artifacts at the heart of both questlines. The Skeleton Key is undeniably interesting, especially coupled with the concept of the Nightingales as its protectors. However, intrinsically the Skeleton Key is less interesting. The Grey Cowl of Nocturnal, as far as I'm aware, is a completely unique concept. A skeleton key, by contrast, isn't. This brings me to my second point. Skyrim's questline is so archetypal it's a lot less mysterious. The story, although it has its twists and turns, is ultimately predictable. It's the classic, the leader is actually the villain storyline. There's no doubt what the ending will be. The only thing that's uncertain is how you'll get there. Comparatively, although we always knew there would be a happy ending in Oblivion, the nature of the story meant that it was unpredictable. From Springhill Jack being a 300-year-old vampire, to the Grey Fox not telling you what his tasks were for, there is a level of suspense and mystery in the narrative that makes it wondrous. In Skyrim, the whole ethos of the Thieves Guild was predictable. It was a guild in a time of crisis. Naturally, that already tells the player that the narrative involves the Thieves Guild coming out back on top. And that is essentially the plot. Apart from the odd twist and turn, there's nothing more to the story than that. Skyrim's questline was simply much more predictable. In Oblivion's questline, it's partly about overcoming problems facing the guild, such as imperial persecution, but it's also about helping a man to reclaim his identity. That level of nuance isn't really present in Skyrim. Thirdly, it's hard to enjoy the Skyrim Thieves Guild questline because I never really felt justified as a thief. I know that it's fun to roleplay as being evil, but the Thieves Guild was never about being evil. Yes, the Volkihar clan should be evil in its ethos, and the same can be said for the Dark Brotherhood, but the Thieves Guild should be something more. You might call it unrealistic, but I find it hard to engage with a questline where I'm overthrowing the immoral Mercer Frey if I or Brynjolf are no better. The only distinction between Brynjolf and Mercer Frey is that Brynjolf wouldn't steal from his fellow thieves, but he would still extort business owners, beat up those who don't pay their debts, and do the dirty work of Maven Blackbriar. So it's a bit like the pot calling the kettle black. To make the questline more compelling, there needed to be a sense of righteousness, that the player was justified in wanting to overthrow Mercer Frey beyond personal gain. Nostalgia might be affecting my perception, but deep down I simply feel like I cared more about Oblivion's Thieves Guild questline. It was more mystical and held me in suspense for longer. I could foresee the general trend of Skyrim's questline from the beginning. Apart from some twists and interesting pieces of lore, it turned out how I expected it to be. You might disagree though, so please let me know. Do you think Skyrim or Oblivion's Thieves Guild was better, or what about Morrowind's? Anyway, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more, then feel free to subscribe. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.